Today we got the QWW 52 volt 15 amp hour battery. This also goes under a ZB Power, I believe it is. The serial number and everything says ZB Power, even though the sticker says QWW. But it's supposed to be 14S 5P on the cells, 70 cells in the pack, and they rate it as 15 amp hours. I was originally trying to get a 20 for that Vfreedom build, but the last two that I got were both like 13 or 12 amp hour batteries. So I figured if I went for 15, that's basically what I was getting. I should be able to get a 15 and have it fit in there. Fortunately, I was wrong. So of course, as soon as I tested it, and let me just throw that over here, throw it on there, and I was kind of disappointed. Came back as 13.4. I mean, which is close, but if you pay for a 15 amp hour battery, you should get a 15 amp hour battery. So I just started off, with my usual messaging them, just let them know, hey, I tested it, and I brought it all the way down to 39.2 volts, which is really, really low. Um, and I actually tested it twice. The first time I only got 13.1, second time I got 13.3. And I was just letting them know, I mean, it's already off by 10%, and typically after your 500 to 800 cycles, you're only supposed to lose 20%. I'm already down 10%, and I just got a brand new battery. And this is where they're trying to tell me that, hey, this is normal. So it's normal that you sell a battery with 10% less capacity than what you're rating it for. Then they also, in the original ad, they had UL certification and stuff. So at this point, since they want me to pay for the return shipping, um, this one didn't have the free return shipping. I was just collecting data. Throw the question out there, see what they respond with. They got their 30-day return policy. And then they had it listed that it was UL certified, so go ahead and ask, hey, can I get the certification number? Oh, sorry. It hasn't been issued yet. Um, okay. So you're advertising a battery that hasn't been issued. Then they go ahead and say, if you want to go ahead and return the battery, sure. Yeah, I'm planning on returning this battery. And this is where it's like, oh, just send it here. Yeah. And then I've got to go through the whole, I hate this. I hate this wording right here, because what this tells me is that since I know that they're scamming, not only they're going to hit me on the front end, but when I return it, most likely they won't give me all my money back, because they'll say, oh, it's scratched. They'll say whatever, it looks like you abused it or you broke it or something along those lines. So at this point, just let them know, hey, that's not going to work. I mean, if you're lying about the sale, you're responsible for the whole thing. It's on you. It's not on me. And of course, they come back, say, hey, again, trying to do their best to let me know that 10% is, what's expected. Now they're saying that it cannot be returned, but they offer a 30-day return policy. I don't understand. Um, and of course, I follow up again, just letting them know, if you falsely advertise it, it's on you to handle the return or handle the reimbursement, whatever you want. This is why we have consumer protection rules. And at this point, I let Amazon know. I sent them a copy of the information. It's like, hey, I asked for the UL report. They said they didn't have one. Talked to my credit card company. I said, hey, I asked for the UL report. And I sent a copy of the information over. My credit card company was asking if I still had the battery, and they wanted to know if they offered a return. I said yes. They said they would take the return, but they wanted me to pay for it. I said since they lied and they falsely claimed this stuff, that I shouldn't have to pay for the return. They can come get it. And the guy that was on the phone, he basically agreed, and he said, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work. And they basically took it from there. I didn't hear anything back from them for like 30 days, but once I opened up the claim with the credit card company, you can close it at any time, and I typically like to work with the vendors. I know I'm going to get the money back most likely I'm going to end up keeping the battery, so I just kind of have fun with it. So we're going back. They're trying to again say they provided an explanation of how it doesn't work. Then they go and say, well, my measurements could be off by upwards of 30%. No, I mean, we're talking very basic calculations of you have an amp draw and you have a set amount of time. I could do it. I could do it with a watch. I mean, it's not as accurate with a watch, but I don't even need any tools to do this. And then I hit them back. So their explanation of the whole 10% isn't invalid. But the IEC specifications are based on the minimum usable power that comes out. And I just went through and just said there's in the case of my other example where I had the 20 amp hour battery, I literally just took that one as an example. So what's to stop someone from saying that, hey, a battery's 20 amp hour, but you can't use all of it. So you only get 10 amp hours out of it or 12 amp hours out of it like I got on the last battery. That's why the specifications for the IEC specify usable capacity. I think at this point they might have gotten something from the credit card company or something along those lines, because they finally sent me a whole dump of information. And we'll go through each one that they sent, but I just want to finish up with this one, because when we go through we'll see the details, but I just wanted to get it in writing that the cells that they listed and all the documents they sent are the ones in my battery. So, yep. And then the other thing that I wanted to do was get the number of cells that were in the pack. Unfortunately, the person said that they were just a representative and they didn't know, but I was hoping to get this in writing too. So if we go ahead and go through what they sent, first one is just a cover letter from India standards. Once I saw Bureau of Indian Standards, I didn't even care, so I skipped that one. Second one they sent me was a little bit more interesting. This one, I didn't need to translate it because I have a rough idea of everything that's on here, but this is the one that I was looking for. So this is their testing. It's not UL testing, but it does go through and gives the testing, and numbers are interesting. So we've got a sample of 24 cells, and they're all testing around 2.6 amps or 2600 milliamp hours. Well, if we go back to what the battery is, if it's a 5P and they're 2.6, that's 13 amp hour. That's exactly what my testing came out, not 15 amp hour. And then we got, of course, the minimum. So they calculated that their cutoff brings you dangerously close to the cutoff on the cells, and everything else is basically good. If they advertise this as a 13 amp hour battery, it would be perfect, but they're advertising it as a 15 amp hour battery. This one was just a copy from the same testing place, so this was just an inspection of the actual package and just saying how the package got to them. This one is kind of funny when I brought up the IEC. So they're saying that they actually have an IEC certificate, so then their certificate actually shows, and this is for the cells, not for the pack. All of their UL stuff that they sent me was all for the individual cells, not for the pack, which is why I was trying to confirm how many cells were in the pack. But again, we confirmed that 2600 milliamp hours, and then they have the UL certificate. This is not an official, this is just saying that it's a certificate of compliance. They actually cannot use a branding mark, which actually says right down here. So they cannot use a branding mark yet, but they do comply with the UL, and I got two of them. I got one for use in one for the cells themselves, and one for use in basically an e-bike or transportation. And then the last one that they sent me was RF stuff to make sure that it doesn't generate interference, and interference doesn't do anything to the batteries. I started reading through it, but it wasn't important for what I was looking for. So, unfortunately for them, they gave me proof, more proof that they were selling a fraudulent battery. So before I went any further, I was waiting for them to fight it with the credit card company, and I did some, quick looking up based on model numbers. So uh, first I went to the QWW Energy, and I couldn't find anything listed on their site for the pack. This was the closest one, but they only had it in 48 volt. They didn't have 52. The battery itself, it had the ZBL, so I started looking up these numbers, just random entering these numbers, and I was able to find ZB Power. And if I did the who is lookup on the domain, they're actually they're registered to the same company, some shell, random Chinese shell company. So they're the same company. And if you go through and you look at their 52 volt, this is the exact model number, 52 volt, 13 amp hour. All this stuff matches. It's supposed to be a 30 amp BMS. And if you scroll down, it's a 14 serial 5P, 2600 milliamp hour batteries. Like all this is matching up. The dimensions, even the dimensions match. So for all intents and purposes, this is the battery that I bought. The casing, everything's the same. So we got the number of cells, and I went ahead and I opened up the pack, and I just printed out. This is a stencil for most common layouts. I got a couple different ones, but this is for the longer packs that have the shorter connector on the end. So this is 70 cells. This would be your 14 serial 5P. You're not getting any more than that. 2600 milliamp hour cells. It's only going to be a 13 amp hour battery. The only way to get the 15 amp hour battery in this case is if these were 3000 milliamp hour cells, which they've already confirmed that they're not. So I was waiting for, like, I had all this stuff compiled together, and I was just kind of sitting on it. And then a couple days ago, I got this from the credit card company. I don't know what happened. They didn't tell me. I tried calling, and the guy said, he just said that they closed it. He doesn't know why. He said there were no notes on it. He said most likely the vendor didn't even try to argue anything. He said usually if they argue something, they'll have some kind of note in there. I've had no further contact with the vendor. They haven't sent any call tags, and I really don't expect them to. I just think they're gonna make up that money scamming other people. And if you've made it this far in the video, I really hope that other person or one of those other people is not you. If you've already purchased the battery, get the ball rolling. Start that claim with your credit card company. If it's been past the 60 days, there's kind of a gray area. Typically, it's when you discovered the fraud, not from the date of purchase. So you can call your credit card company. They may not have an automated system for you to submit a claim, but if you call them and talk to one of the representatives, just say, hey, you figured this out and something wasn't sitting right, whatever story you want to come up with, but fraud's fraud. You can get the ball rolling, and they may have some limits. I've seen some cards are like 120, 180 days type of thing, where they'll have a fraud window, but most of them, the automated systems kind of kick you out at like 30 or 60 days, so you're going to have to call. The only way we're going to stop these companies from doing these type of scams is to hit them in the wallet. We got to make it cost more to do these types of scams than what they profit off of people that just don't know any better. Unfortunately, the FTC really can't help us. Trying to do a class action lawsuit really isn't going to help us, because what these companies do is they have all these little shell companies that they just create. They use them for a little bit and they get rid of them. Just use them for a little bit and get rid of them. If we start making it painful, then they're going to stop, or at least they're going to switch to a different scam. But that's the only way it's going to work. So if you're in the market for a battery, looking for a 13 amp hour with a 30 amp BMS on it, then maybe this might be a battery for you. And maybe if you bought it, maybe you would want to inform your credit card company that it's kind of falsely advertised, and maybe your credit card company would give you some money back. Maybe the vendor might not even ask for the battery back. Maybe if enough people did that, the vendor wouldn't be selling them and mislabeling them as they are. Maybe. Till next time, take care, guys.